Right, I'm just going to do a quick one here, which was on what happens to your crash logs. And to encourage you to keep sending me your crash logs. So basically, after version 12, we discovered, or during, that there was a lot of problems with our keep the messages flowing, was creating lots of crashes. And we realised that we just weren't catching them all and didn't know what was going on with some of them. I really came home to one stage where I thought we had no crashes. It was really great. Then I realised we hadn't been getting the friggin' reports for 3 months. Something had gone wrong in our system. And so I said, right, we need to know every day what in the hell's going on here. So we actually sat down and made sure that everything was being tied down so we do know when things go wrong and we don't hear from you. These things are for hard coders and for macro people. So basically our major priority has been to closing bugs. So since the last conference we've spent a huge amount of time just closing bugs in drawings and other things that came from keep the messages flowing. It crept into all sorts of areas. This is the stop where you get that little white wheel, you don't know what's going on. Because we've got all these different views and things happening, it turned out it was a horrendous problem just to stop getting that little wheel happening. And just bugs in general. So basically there's 2 classes of bugs, options that don't perform as documented, and a note to everybody, just because it doesn't work the way you think it should work, it's not a bug. If it doesn't work the way the documentation says, yep, that's a bug. And a crash in 12D model, and that's where everyone here comes in. To be able to fix and find bugs, we need them to be reported in the first place. If we can get a project and the detailed steps on how to reproduce the bug, that's so fantastic. If we just get words from people, the programmers try it, and the first thing they say, we can't reproduce it. And if you've got a crash log, we can now get the information from that and really nail down, usually, into our code where it's happened. So those crash logs have been fantastic. You also notice when you send crashes to us now, we introduced in 12, a file goes with it called options.txt, and it shows everything you've been doing. So we can go through that and find exactly what you were doing, so we don't have to rely on you saying what you were doing, and that's made a huge difference. So basically those crash logs are critical. All the programmers get one every day, which lists any crash logs that have come in that night. We then have a meeting to go through them all. Programmers scheduled every day to have a look at them, and basically they will possibly contact you to find out more information. Has anyone been hearing from anyone about any of their crash logs? Yep, we're now trying to respond to them very quickly. Before they were stale and you forgot what you even did. And basically we put them in a system called Jira, which are identified, and so we track them. And Tony is down the front. He's our major bug finder. He seems to find all these crashes for us, so you'll probably hear from Tony quite a bit. We also produce a monthly report on the crashes for the released versions, and that goes out all to our programmers and support people and resellers so they can see who's having problems so they can contact them. So basically that's what we've been trying to do, make sure we see this information every day and follow up your crash logs very, very quickly. Also with the software development, we've nailed these programmers to the floor a bit. Programmers, they are propeller heads, they like going off in their own directions. So basically now everything they do and work on, it's very much more tightly controlled, or they do have a percentage of their time they can just muck around. So we track it, they have to say what they're working on, what they're beforehand, what they're going to work on, and then report when it's actually finished, which is always the hard part, they never tell you. So basically now before they can work on anything, we have to put in a wish. The wish goes into the system from our support people or ourselves, and they only can work on it when it's been approved in meetings. So it has really got tied down quite a bit. They have to provide the information, and if it's implemented, they have to then test the darn thing and potentially give us some documentation. Because everyone asks for things, especially our support people and the resellers, but they never tell us exactly what they want. We post them on an internal site that we can see them, and our people can comment on them before we actually go and work on them, or we can ask for more information. So basically, that's tying the programmers down, because then when they are doing approved wishes, it's tied to something, we get the information about it, and so we can track it. And that's been the major change. We have fortnightly meetings where we say what we're going to, how everything's gone the last fortnight and what's going to be happening in the next four weeks. And we see how many bugs we've closed, how many crashes we've received. So that's very, very important. And every day we have a sprint meeting, as it's called, a scrum, where we actually go through those results as well. So basically, everyone's got a little board there which tells them, we have our daily scrum meetings where they get together, and then a little board that says what they're going to be working on that fortnight, what items are blocked, what items are in progress, what are waiting to commit the code so we can release it, and when they've actually tested or it's in the test suite, and then finally when it's ready to go to the outside testers. So basically everything has to go through that, and everything they can, if they can put something, it's got to go into what's called our test suite, so that gets run every night to actually come up and say, did it actually work? And so when we change things, or they make changes, every night this thing runs through about 1,000 different things in 12D model, so if they've made a change that stuffed everything up, we can find out the next morning. And when they do close things, it ends up in these summary reports. Has anyone been watching the summary or seen them when they're on our forum when we post things? Everything the programmers do now will end up in there, so we know exactly what they are, so we can look at documenting them. So basically that's what we've been trying to do, so please send us your test, all your crashes. We do look at them. We're very happy then if you can follow up and get information from you, because we have really closed lots and lots of bugs in 12, and that means they'll also be closed for 14. So hopefully we're hoping the time we put into it now means with 14 we won't be spending much time on it because we've cleaned up the version. So it's back to how it used to be, I think, where it hardly ever crashed for people.